What are your thoughts on getting a genetic test to see if there's a genetic reason for autism? Do you think it's necessary? Does it help? Or is it just like people trying to blame each other? That's what I feel like it is sometimes. It's your fault he has autism. I've
Really?
dealt with it.
Yeah. Oh, well, there are a couple reasons. The American Academy of Pediatrics does recommend that genetic testing be completed. And the reasoning for that is kind of twofold. One, there are certain identifiable genetic disorders that can result in having autism and or other challenges. And so if there's something identifiable, it's good to know that. The likelihood of genetic testing showing something specific is fairly low, but it happens. And then the other reason for it is really for parents. If they are doing family planning, if they know they have some identifiable genetic condition that could be passed on, they can make decisions themselves about, whether they want to have another child, if they're totally accepting and looking at autism as this is just who we are, this is neurodiversity, that's great. But it's just information for families, really.
Are there some of the questions that came up in our house was well, Krista had a really rough labor, like a really rough one. She asked, she wanted to get a C-section like from the beginning because she had had Mila before and Mila got stuck. And then but UVM is very against that. They push for no, we're having a vaginal birth. There's no, and we'll deal with that when it happens. And she kept saying, no, he's bigger than she was, so he's gonna get stuck, and he did. And I've only seen one birth in my life, and his head was like this long. And they had to put him on a table and resuscitate him, and he was in the ICU for like just the night. And so between that and me probably being on the spectrum, and also prescription drugs, she had a prescription for something that was like that may not be good, all those different things. Parents and want to know what it is, would you say that can happen through a rough birth? Can you get autism through a rough childbirth? I mean, it seems weird to me that would be it, because you're like, everything's fine, and then bam, autism. It doesn't make sense to me. But
right. Well, clearly this is out of my scope. I'm not a medical doctor, but there are some children that have a complicated birth. More so, I've noticed it in children who are truly preterm, that may also have autism as a part of their challenges. But just because what you described happened, there are many children that have these kind of experiences at birth that don't have any resulting challenges at all. So it's really difficult to kind of identify a very specific, like, what part of all of those pieces are they responsible at all? It's very hard to know.
I know what you're talking about, though, Jason, because in my house, the narrative was, oh, well, your mother got the flu when she had it. Yeah. And so that's the difference between, because there's three of us. And so, and one is on the spectrum and the others are not. But then the theory was also, your father's probably on the spectrum too. So, which I feel like that theory is probably more sound than the flu theory. But yeah, I feel like people just do speculate because they don't really, I think, still know enough to really know what the causes are.
I can understand that feeling of like, I want to be able to pinpoint what was the cause. And that's, I think, the biggest challenge in talking to families when we make a diagnosis is we don't have all the answers, right? One preterm child has autism, one other preterm child doesn't have autism. Why is that, right? So it's just this kind of complicated, I think, combination of possibly some genetic pieces. They're showing more and more some environmental pieces that may be a part of it, maybe some autoimmune challenges that could be part of it. And that creates these changes in the brain, right? And development. It's interesting, there's a group, Zayden and their colleagues. This was a recent meta-analysis from 2022. I was just reading the other day, and they had done a study in 2012 looking at prevalence rates of globally for autism, and they wanted to do an update. So since 2012, there has continued to be an increase in the prevalence of autism.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're kind of finding is there are multiple factors around why that is. Some of it is just the increase in awareness that continues. People are more aware of autism, and I'm hoping that people are more aware about the neurodiversity movement with that. There's been a greater response for autism and knowledge through just public health globally. We're a little bit better at identifying cases and defining autism. And I think that moving from these discrete, pervasive developmental disorder and Asperger's and autism, the way we used to diagnose, and we have this umbrella term, autism spectrum, may have kind of actually helped that. And I think the other factor really is just in the access to more services and supports within the community. Even though there's still challenges, I'm not saying it's perfect, definitely more capacity with community provision of services and supports, probably much more now, Rena, than were available for when your brother was a child. So.